In October 2022, I bought myself a second-hand Google Pixel 5, a flagship Android phone that was released 2 years earlier. While I don't receive the latest and greatest Android performance, I think 2 years is not going to make this phone completely obsolete. So I'm still expecting somewhat flagship features from the most expensive phone that I ever purchased. Then I remembered that a few years back, Google just announced the so-called YouTube signature device, a list of flagship Android phones that are certified to offer the best video experience on YouTube. Devices in this category are guaranteed to receive better video performance, minimal buffering, higher frame rate, and high dynamic range, all the while consuming less bandwidth. This is all thanks to the next-gen video codecs embedded inside the phone. On the surface, these are interesting offerings that make signature devices more enticing, especially for those who watch YouTube videos on a daily basis. Given that many previous Pixel phones are listed, I thought it's safe to assume that my Pixel 5 should also be certified. Well, answering that question brings me to the surprising conclusion that YouTube signature device may be dead. A dedicated page detailing various supported Android phones went live in August 2018. At that time, there were only a handful of phones with such qualifications, again, mostly flagship names that were released that year and the year prior. You can expect phones like the Samsung Galaxy series, Huawei Mate, Google Pixel, and OnePlus to be well within the bracket. But the quantity is extremely few, and YouTube is very slow at adding new devices. In fact, 2 years after the announcement, they only managed to add 36 new phones to the list, which is just 1/3 of the amount of $600 or more phones that were released in the same period. What's interesting is the inventory stopped growing at the end of 2020, with LG Wing, the weird-looking phone, as the latest addition. In the following months, the page went silent with no phones to be added. And in October 2021, a year after the last phone, the webpage closed with no explanation whatsoever. There's no news or announcement about that. And given that YouTube has stopped expanding the list for a year or so, I think it's more than likely that the video streaming giant is no longer pursuing the signature device label. And it begs the question of why YouTube did not continue the program. The fact that certified devices can enjoy better videos while consuming less bandwidth sounds intriguing, and could be a selling point for the phone manufacturer. After all, these flagships often come with large screens and stereo speakers, which makes them a perfect scenario for video consumption on the go. The information regarding this program is sparse. YouTube chose not to say anything about it. I even tweeted to YouTube, which unsurprisingly received 0 replies. There's no media coverage or official blog post, and there's no one talking about that after 2020. It's frustrating to get an idea of why the program abruptly ceased. But if I'm allowed to speculate, there are a few reasons of why pursuing the signature device label is probably not a worthwhile endeavor for the company. First, any manufacturer that wants their device to be registered as YouTube signature has to undergo extensive testing to provide the bar that the company has set. Although YouTube didn't specify which parts of the phone that have to be tested, many components like the screen, speakers, chipset, and software for video codecs are responsible for delivering the high-performance video that YouTube asked for. This means the manufacturer has limited control over what hardware they can mix and match on their phone. This is reminiscent of the downfall of Windows Phone, where Microsoft, in a desperate attempt to catch up with Android, is working closely with phone manufacturers to ensure snappier performance and compatibility when running the operating system. After years of trying, opting for only high-end components resulted in Windows Phone being just too expensive for consumers and failing to be adopted by the mass market. In contrast, Google lets phone manufacturers to experiment and design their Android phones so they can be sold at a much more affordable price, which is partly attributed to the success of the platform. From the manufacturer's standpoint, just getting their phone to be certified is too much hassle and too little reward. If you look at some of their product pages, the YouTube signature label is barely mentioned. And even if they do, there isn't much value proposition to begin with. All the benefits like 360-degree video, 4K resolution, and HDR pictures are something that even low-end Android phones can do just fine. The proudly named next-gen video codecs will eventually trickle down to other mainstream phones as the technologies progressed. Combined, these things make the signature label look like unnecessary chores achieving nothing. YouTube has to closely test the phone if it wants to be certified. Manufacturers can't creatively choose their components, and most consumers probably don't even care about that. And to answer the initial question, my Pixel 5 is nowhere to be found on the list. Coincidentally, the phone was released days after the YouTube signature page went offline. That looks like a sign that Google's pretty much given up on the concept and doesn't even bother adding its own flagship phone to the list. I'm not ridiculing YouTube for the misfortune. After all, it's just a company doing company stuff to stay competitive and relevant. They have done the right thing by cutting their losses after roughly 2 years of experimenting and seeing the market response. And that's my take on the YouTube signature device program. So, what do you think? Is your phone on the list? Or have you ever made a purchase on that premises? Let me know in the comments below. If you like this video, make sure to subscribe. And as always, thank you so much for watching.